Hello and welcome to my video on how to do the rotor and how to duplicate the rotor so you can make two rotors out of one rotor. Okay, so first things first, and this is very important, is you remember what your size of the diameter of this is and the height of this. So these little pegs, they should be the same, but also make sure that you remember your numbers or make the numbers so you can remember what they are. So if I go back over here on the left and I go to this peg here, I'm going to go to the sketch so you can see I made it 0.25 to make it easier for me to remember. And then I'm going to go to my extrusion and you can see that I made it 0.25 tall. So I could remember 0.25, 0.25. That's easy for me to remember. Okay, so now at the bottom, I'm going to come in and create a new part. Okay, I'm going to make it easy for myself, and I'm going to call this part helicopter main rotor. Okay, now what I want to do first is I want to create here. And I'm going to show you something here over here. I'm going to go to hide all planes to make it a little bit more simple for me. And I'm going to create a sketch on the top view. Now, what I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to create a circle. And I'm going to make this 0.25. Oops, not 0.25 feet, 0.25 inches. Then I'm going to make a circle that's a little bit bigger. It doesn't really matter what this size is, but it makes it easier if you make it a number that you can remember. So 0.5. Okay. Now I'm going to go to extrude, and what this does is, and this is very important, it creates a hollow tube. This tube is going to be the sleeve that goes over this. Okay, and I made this 0.25 tall, so I need to make this 0.25 tall. You don't have to do it that way. You can make it whatever size you want, just make sure that they match each other. And now I need to close this in because it's going to be like a cap that goes over. So I'm going to create a sketch on top here. And I'm going to create a circle that fits in, and I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but I'm going to create a circle. I'm going to make this 0.5 because I remember my number, but if you notice, they're not centered to each other. So I'm going to use this concentric tool, and I'm going to click on both of these to make it so they match each other. Okay. Now our cap doesn't matter. You can make it whatever size you want. When you go to extrude it, you need to make sure that you choose both of these. So it closes now, it closes in. Let's make this smaller so you can see it. And so see how it doesn't have a hole in the middle? The other one does have a hole in the middle, or the first extrusion does have a hole in the middle. Now this one's closed in. Okay, so now here is my little peg that's going to go on top. Now this is where I also want to do the rotor. So this is very, very important when you are making this. Sorry, let's do this. Let's go back to the top view. Mine, you can tell my computer is running incredibly slow. So I'm going to create a sketch here, and I'm going to make a blade, okay, for my rotor. So I'm going to make this quite large because let's make this like, I don't know, 4. Because this is going to be my main rotor, and I want it to be large. Okay, so I'm going to set that to 4, and I'm just creating this. So, and you see that this grays in like that? Okay, I can go ahead and extrude it now. All right, and I'm going to extrude it downwards, and I'm going to create, let's see if this, there we go. I'm going to flip it downward, and I'm going to make it really, really, really thin. I'm going to actually make it 0.01. And the reason is I want this to be, I want it to actually look like a blade. All right. Now, in another video, I showed you a little bit more complicated way to do a circular pattern. Okay, I'm going to show you an easier way to create a circular pattern this time. So I'm going to click on this where it says linear pattern, and I'm going to go down to circular pattern. And when it chooses this circular pattern, it's very important to change it from part pattern. So it's instead of, rotating around with a part, you want it to go to feature pattern. And feature pattern is going to be the way that you choose just this extrusion. And then we pick an axis, and I need to turn so it's a little bit 3D, so I can choose this. And it gives me my numbers. See how they turned red? I need to say apply per instance, and then it turns blue. Some of yours will be defaulted to this, some of yours won't. And then the last thing I'm going to do is maybe make this a larger number. Okay, so it has multiple blades. Okay, now here's the cool part. Okay, I made 1, I need to make 2. I need to make a front rotor, and if you look at this little picture, a front rotor and a rear rotor. Okay, or a main rotor and a rear rotor. So I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to say duplicate. And once I duplicate it, it creates a second one right here. And to make it easier for myself, I'm going to go in and go to rename, and I'm going to call this rear rotor. And if I go back here, it says copy. I'm going to delete that copy. Okay? Now, I've got my main rotor and my rear rotor. Now, my rear rotor needs to be smaller. So I'm going to go back to this sketch and see this number 4 that I made. I'm going to change this to 2. Or actually, let's make it smaller, 1.5. All right. And then you can adjust this, sort of however you want to make it look, trying to avoid doing too much because my computer runs really, really slow with this. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit check, and you see immediately, let's do this. You see immediately that it shortened it. I'm also going to do this so it looks even more different. I'm going to make this like 4. So now you can see I double clicked on that circular pattern. Now I have this small piece and this large piece. I like going to trimetric to give it a good look so you can see. And there are my 2 rotors. Okay, thanks, and look for some other videos a little bit later.